that game of football, man, and I just love it.
Hey, Coach. Before we get started, I wanna transition. We may have a people on our prayer line, and so I want to make sure that the bishop has an opportunity to bless those folks who desperately may need a blessing.
Well, thank you, Rocky. You know, they call me the bishop, but the church is open to all. It doesn't make a difference if you worship at the altar of FAMU, at the altar of Jackson State, at the altar of Prairie View, at the altar of Southern. We are all HBCU brothers and sisters. But there's a few of us that need a little bit of prayer after this past week. So the prayer line has to start off. First of all, we got to start off with them Southern Jaguars. The Southern Jaguars need a prayer because they say when they come to your city, they drink up all the liquor and eat all the food. Clearly looking at them stands, they stayed at home in Louisiana and watched the Saints beat the Dallas Cowboys behind. They did not make that trip. So we're going to say a prayer for them. So hopefully they will go on over there to Prairie View to get their mojo back. That's the first prayer. Now, the next prayer we got to say is actually for, and I found this out, Coach, you do not call it PV. You do not call it PV-A&M. You call it PV-A&M-U.
Wow.
That's what they told me. So I'm going to say a prayer for PV-A&M-U because they play those Southern Jaguars that I just spoke about. And if they lose that game, they're going to be going to church early and often because their season will be over. So we're definitely going to
back off of that.
Absolutely. We're always prayer.
I talked to some of them old Panthers. Man, I hate to say it. They look like, they said, boy, we felt like the Panther old. And we didn't win no game. So, man, it's the sad time over there, Coach Rock.
We're gonna find out really quick. And the next prayer definitely has to go to Alabama State.
Ooh.
We have heard that they've lost another quarterback. So now they potentially will be down to their fourth quarterback. They said the other kid might be coming back, from what I've been told. But we're just going to say a prayer for Eddie Rob because he's a friend of the show. We love what Eddie Robinson does. So what we really want to see is Alabama be at their full strength because we want all our teams to be at full strength. So we're going to say a prayer for one of them quarterbacks to get healthy for Eddie Rob. And last but not least, we're going to go up that East Coast. And we're going to say a prayer for Norfolk State because the way Hampton's offensive line looked, it was hell on wheels, and the devil was definitely in the details up there on that East Coast. So we have definitely got to say a prayer for Norfolk because if they let any other team do them like that, Dawson Moses might not be there for the rest of. He might be over here with us, Coach, on the Coach's Corner.
Well, you know how we help here, Coach. We put them out there and expose the people that sometimes you ain't in the right place at the right time. So we try to make sure that we get the guys in the right place at the right time and in the right position.
Absolutely. So we say a prayer to all of those that are lost and suffering. Let the church say amen. All right, Rocky, we're ready to go now.
Oh, now it's time for us to take a collection. I'd like to ask everybody at this time, if you're not watching on Rocky Miller channel, please at some point during this broadcast, go over to the Rocky Miller channel and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. If you feel so inclined, we'd also like you to send a super chat. Ask a question, make a comment, right? We certainly would appreciate your contribution. We do good work for the people. All right. So, Coach.
I like that, Rob. I like that.
So let's get to it. We had a very what I would call interesting week last week. We had a whole slate of games that don't factor into the championship race of the MEAC and the SWAC, but we had one particular battle that was very important to a lot of people. And we'll get that lastly. We'll address that lastly on our recap. But I just wanted to put up the games that did take place and see if there are any interesting results or anything y'all want to mention. I actually saw one particular game on here that I thought was very entertaining, rather sloppy, but entertaining. But I'd rather get you guys' opinions. Is anybody of these games that we have listed that caught your eye or you paid special attention to?
I like that Grambling Texas A&M Commerce game. This is why Mickey Joseph them are putting points on the board. They are moving the football. It's always a great win when a HBCU school beat a PWI. So that kind of stood out to me there, and the rest of them was sort of like, games that they also run. This is what we expected. So my hat goes out to Grambling and Coach Dooley and Coach Vicky Joseph over there.
Okay, Bishop Campbell, let me ask you this. Before we talk about Alcorn, because I definitely want to talk about that game, because Alcorn hadn't been able to do much offensively until Edward Waters showed up. But I want to look at University of Arkansas Pine Bluff being able to put 28 points on Tennessee State. What does that tell you about Tennessee State going into the OVC?
Well, once again, Draylon Ellis played a tremendous game in that game. I think the offense is there. I think, once again, the problem is, and what we always look, and we've heard a lot about this, and they talked about this a lot about the coach's call, is what did you get in the portal? Did you get players in the portal that you thought that were going to be? So on the offensive side, Draylon Ellis went for 20 to 33, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns, looked really good. Tennessee State ran for almost 200 yards, 196 yards rushing. Offense sounds good right there. But the problem is, you turn around and you let Mikael Higgins, who is now might be on my quarterback watch list, who threw for 276 yards and 3 TDs for Arkansas Pine Bluff. And then he also had Javon Gibson, who went for 5 receptions and 150 yards and 1 TD. So what that says to me is, again, we're talking about a team that's picked last in the West, potentially one of the worst teams with them in Valley, being able to put up 28 points. If I'm Tennessee State, I'm worried about that. I'm really worried about that.
Well, as you see, Tennessee State's been in OVC. As a matter of fact, guys, I forgot to mention, it's our 25th reunion of us winning the last OVC championship that Tennessee State has ever won. We won a championship in 1998, of course, 99, and the 98 celebration will be this year. So it would be November the 23rd, last game of the year against SEMO. So just wanted to throw that in there. But like you say, Bishop, UAPB shouldn't be scoring 28 points on a Tennessee State team, especially when they're in that OVC. What do they call it? The South Conference now?
It's the Big South OVC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the Big South Conference. So it doesn't give Tennessee State any momentum of going through there or going to start their conference play.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about this one, Coach, and I'm gonna direct this to you. You go into 2 money games where you don't put up any points, and then Edward Waters comes to town and you put up 38. Does that help your confidence? Do you learn anything about your team playing Edward Waters?
The head coach at Edward Waters was one of my guys, Coach Morgan, Toriano Morgan, the head coach. And we had a good conversation this weekend about what took place. That game was 10. That game was almost it was 10-0 at halftime. And they were doing some things differently offensively and slowing the game up when the game kind of got away from them at the end. But they played them very tough. It's just 10-0 at half. So he felt good about that. When you talk about a moral victory, here's a Division II team playing a one double-A team and known Alcorn State championship team. And if you know about Edward Waters, he's going in there, he's trying to turn that program around. Does Alcorn take that win? Yes, especially when you're 0-2. Where do you want to be at 38-7? They'll go back and watch film, but sometimes a win is a win.
Okay. All right, Coach. Is there anything else before we go to the next slate of games and look over Bishop Campbell?
Hey, I want to just say something talking about Alcorn, because one of the things my nephew G, shout out to Swack and the Food, one of their biggest things they were crying about, can we get a quarterback to throw over 100 yards? Xavier Vaughn went for 18 to 26, 255 yards, no touchdowns thrown. But he did run for 12 carries, 96 yards, and run for 4 touchdowns. So is that the dual threat quarterback? Is Alcorn saying, hey, we can put it in this guy's hands? And then the question is, Alcorn's rushing, which they've always been known for. Next guy only had 34 yards rushing against Edwin Waters. That's concerning to me. That's the thing that I think Alcorn really needs to work on going into the SWAC season, because they're going to need to have that run attack to come along, because I don't believe Xavier Vaughn could just carry. I don't think he's that type of player that can go 200, 100 every game. So just Kevin May only having 34 yards, Tyler Macon only having 27 yards, and Tyler Macon's a quarterback. So again, rushing game only had 168 yards total. Like I say, Xavier Vaughn accounted for 100 yards of that. Again, Alcorn really needs to be worried about that. And I know that's something they're going to work on going into next week.
Well, if they're not running the wing T or the veer option, and the active quarterback leading the team, you're right, Bishop. They definitely got something to worry about. You got to get those tailbacks rushing that ball for hundreds, because that kid ain't gonna last. And hopefully, you see Alabama State struggling with quarterbacks. Hopefully, that kid don't get hurt. I look for Alcorn to put it all together next week, playing those two Division 1A teams. Let's hope they're getting things going in the right direction.
All right, Coach, we're going to go to our next the next slate of games. And on this particular slate of games, the thing that kind of stands out to me is the dominant nature in which Hampton was able to handle
Norfolk.
And I got the wrong game listed here. This is supposed to be South Carolina against Georgia Southern. And so what about this that you guys saw, these slated games that you saw kind of piqued your interest or piqued your attention?
Well, Norfolk, we was able to go to the SWAC MEAC Challenge. We thought we seen a good football team, Rocky. They had size. They had a backup quarterback, came in and done a great job of managing the game, and they was able to fall by one. And I'm gonna take words out of the head coach's mouth that they ran the ball up and down the court, up and down the field on the HBCU national championship team. So you wouldn't expect to see this happen. I don't know what was going on as far as the game, because I didn't get opportunity to watch it. But when I look at the stats, as you say, Rocky, Hampton ran the ball at will on the Norfolk State team.
Yeah, and I'll let Bishop Campbell kind of comment to this, because this is
one of our games of the week that we looked at and that we really were checking out. Hampton on their side, Chris Ellis went for 20-25, 185 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Elijah Burrs, who's their all-conference running back, went 23 carries, 77 yards. Chris Ellis also ran for 2 TDs. Tyrell Robinson, he scored 2 TDs on 11 carries, 39 yards rushing. But the thing about what Coach talked about, they ran over 100 yards on us. Kevon King against FAMU. He went 11 carries for only 22 yards. Wow. Jalen Daniels, once again, not allowing him to throw the ball, only threw 6 passes, only threw 12 passes, only completed 6 for 1 touchdown. You're just not going to win games like that. You're just not going to win games like that. And once again, I think we've looked at it. Remember, when we broke this team down, they had more total all-conference players than anybody else in the MEAC.
13.
So 13. So we're not going to say they don't have talent. Or better yet, people believe they have talent. So the question always goes back. If you have the talent, is it the coaches or is the talent not producing? So I think it's a little bit of both. And I think for me to be concerned is that Hampton went and ran for, like I say, ran for 227 yards. And I mean, I watched this game. I was really interested in this game because I knew that Hampton was going to be playing Howard next week. And to see the dominance on the offensive line, I was just really shocked by the score.
Well, let me ask you this, Bishop, as a part of the FAMU faithful and Rattler Nation, what does that win against Norfolk State look like when they only gained 104 yards total offense against Hampton? Like, that is a performance that is not in keeping with a good team, right? And 2, if they were able to move the ball in the way that they were able to move it on you, what does that say about your defense when they weren't able to get up but 100 yards against Hampton?
Well, then I guess for me, so here's I'm gonna put my Rattler hat on. I can say it's a tale of 2 halves. Second half, they only ran for 50 yards and scored 9 points. So was that more indicative of Norfolk State, or was it the first half when they scored 14 points and ran for over 150 yards? So that's really what you kind of look at, because it was not a consistent thing with Norfolk State. They did their damage in the first half. We basically shut them down because we outscored them 24-9 in the second half. We went on a 24-9 run because part of that was part of the back end of the second quarter, going into third and fourth quarter. So again, I've never won, because if you watch any championship team, I'm never one to say this game is going to be determinant of the next game, because each game is different. What I like to do is, again, to see is the team improving each and every week. That was first game, week 0. Did I see improvement? A little bit, not as much on the defensive side. I actually like what I saw from Miami game. I think for FAMU, we'll really see what we're all about when we play Alabama A&M. That'll give a true test of what FAMU is.
And let me say this, guys. There's two things happening here. Hampton either have to have a great defense, or Norfolk has not been creative enough on offense. When you look at the stats, you're looking at 466 total yard offense for Hampton to 104 for Norfolk. Evidently, you're not being enough creative on the offense side of the ball. A lot of times, and what I'm seeing what's happening in HBCU football is, they're playing with backup quarterbacks. And sometimes you got to get away of treating him like a backup, especially when you got great defense. You got to take some shots, because if you don't take shots with him, you become stagnant, you become predictable, and now people load the box. They put 7, 8 guys in the box to shut off what you do and forcing you to throw the football. So you have to throw the football. When you look at time of possession of this game, you're talking about 36 minutes, almost 37 minutes that Hampton had the ball compared to Norfolk's 23. Do you know what you're really saying is you see all these opportunities Hampton got to score? You're talking about 27 first down to 9. They dominated this game from start to finish. And you really, really got to get to start questioning, what is Norfolk doing on
it? Hey, Coach, I completely agree. And there's no doubt about who dominated this game. This is not even a question. But I wanted to correct a couple of things that I had on this particular slide right here. One,
we good, Coach. We all family, baby. We know we're gonna charge it to your head, not your heart.
So I'll just bring this game up. Did it surprise either of you guys that South Carolina State went into Georgia Southern and was not competitive? They lost 42-14.
Georgia Southern is a good program. Always have been, always will be. They get all the Georgia players, they get all the Georgia State players. They're a transitional football program. They're gonna get good kids over there, and they're gonna play some hard-nosed football. So no, it doesn't.
No, and I'm gonna, as they say, I'm gonna go back to, and Coach, I'm gonna say a couple of names that I know you're gonna know. You gotta understand something. Georgia Southern was a 1AA power under Coach Russell, and they had a triple option quarterback named Tracy Ham that beat every team in the SWAC when they were playing the playoffs. So Georgia Southern, this is nothing new for them. They have always had a very strong program. They have a proud tradition. So again, they moved up a level now. But like I said, Georgia Southern has always been a strong program. And again, I remember Tracy Ham gave Jackson State utter hell when they played in one playoff game, and I think Alcorn might have played in 1 year too also. So again, this goes back to, like I said, Eric Russell, who was a famed defensive coordinator, played under that coach under Vince Dooley at Georgia. So this goes back long time.
Well, what's surprising is this: if you evaluate this game, it wasn't a complete statistical mismatch. Georgia Southern had 351 total yards, and South Carolina had 318. I know stats don't usually tell the whole story, but when you look at South Carolina having 19 first downs, Georgia Southern having 21 first downs, penalties being quite even, even with the rushing attack, Georgia Southern was only able to get 140 yards on 33 attempts, and South Carolina got 112 on 31 attempts. So again, even time possession, South Carolina, had led the game in time of possession. So it seemed like it was a more competitive in spirit than it was on the actual scoreboard. So that's good. And then the last game I want to correct on here is North Carolina Central scored 10 against UNC, who scored 45. Looking at the box score on this one, to be honest with you, North Carolina Central passed for 91 yards and ran for 76. They ended up giving up, 183 in the air and 330 on the ground. So, do you get anything out of that?
I want to make a quick point because, and I'm going to bring this up when we get to the Jackson State Southern game about how stats can really not tell you what the game is about. But I'll tell you one stat that you didn't mention, and Coach could talk about this. And I'm sitting up here just looking at this. South Carolina State has 6 punts compared to Georgia Southern's 3. So that means Georgia Southern defense was stopping them. They might have been moving the ball, but when it was time to get that 3rd and out, clearly Georgia Southern did that. So again, one of the stats that sometimes you got to look at is because if I'm going from a coach, this, how many times have you seen a team go from the 20 to the 40 and stall out, 20 to the 30 and stall out, 22 to 50 and stall out? You're getting 30, 40 yards right there. But again, if I stall you out and I make you punt, that's almost as good as a turnover. So we had 6 punts for South Carolina State. So that probably was the key to the game also.
And Coach,
stopping drives.
Coach, I also remember a game, and you may go back to this. This was 2 years ago, and Coach, and I looked at the stats and I didn't understand the game because it was a 24-0 game. TSU had defeated Prairie View, and I didn't understand how Prairie View could have twice as many rushing yards, twice as many passing yards in that game. And Coach reminded me that if your drives are 40 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards, you're just not going to you're not going to have a lot of yardage stats, but you're putting the ball in the end zone, and that's what really matters.
Right. That's definitely well. And then when you go back to the South Carolina State game and the Georgia Southern game, you're right, Coach. These stats are kind of staggering because when you look at time of possession, South Carolina State had the ball mostly. They had the ball 32 minutes, almost 33, 32 and a half minutes, almost 33, according to Georgia Southern's 27. What stats got to tell you is that now you got to go start looking at the running backs and start saying when they did score, were they long yardage scores? You know what I mean? Were they one play 40-yard score, one play 30-yard score? That's what happens, guys, when these 1AA teams play these 1A teams. They get a pick for 70. They get a big run for 40. They get a big throw for 60. And it might be some player off the bench, one catch, 60 yards, a touchdown. So, stats do play a big role, and you could read them and tell, how the game went. And, it is very difficult sometimes when you don't understand how to read the stats and look at stats. So, and that's how some of these teams run away, and you be like, man, they beat them bad. But really, sometimes those teams be in there. And South Carolina State was in there, Coach. They were in this football game. That score is not addicted to what South Carolina State came in there and did. I'm scared I ain't gonna say I'm scared of South Carolina State. I'm saying watch South Carolina State. Just watch Coach Berry over there. You can we count Norfolk out now? Now,
Coach, I'm telling you, I'm pulling out the holy water. Like I said, we'll see next couple of weeks, because they play Central. They should, and we'll talk about that. We'll look at that. I know they play Central soon, so we'll really find out if we take them to the upper room, Coach.
So now they play 4 games right over there. What is 6 teams over there, right? They play 5 conference games. So now they down 2 conference games. So now Hampton got to lose 2
No, Hampton.
No, Hampton, they're in CIAA now,
right.
Coach.
They're over there
Yep.
the other conference. That's right. That's my.
Now,
That's my bad.
CAA.
Their
So
conference-
everybody, they still playing preseason games over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Coach, and I have the score wrong, but I want to get your opinion on this. Alabama A&M played a NAI school in what was a very competitive game, 16-24. Now, I've heard a lot of people say the NAI school is a good program. They went to the finals, played in the championship, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, Coach, it's an NAIA school. What does that game mean? Being as competitive, really, the game was in doubt all the way up until the end. Alabama A&M ended up winning 24-16. But what can you take away from that, Coach, when you're playing in NAIA school?
Well, you can tell that we need to start recruiting now, and getting us better for next year. Georgetown College, I mean, on the NAIA level, if you do a great job of going out and recruiting, you can get transfers in there. And all the kid has to have is 12 hours past per semester he's been in school. So if he's been in school just a year and a half and he's been out of school 2 or 3 years, but he's got 36 hours, and you can bring him in, and he don't play for the Georgetown Skip Bowls, the semi-pro team, he still can come in and be eligible for your program. So if you do a good job at the NAI, you can get some good players in there. But naturally, you should be able to go in there as a 1AA football team and beat them handily.
I got to speak on this because I actually have a bet with a good, we have this beautiful HBCU community and we all are different chats and watch different shows. So a lot of people know my man, Jay White, member of Kappa Alpha Psi, a proud alumnus of Alabama A&M. And he bet me, first of all, he said they were going to win the SWAC. Said that Alabama A&M was going to beat FAMU and Jackson State. That's what it told me. And I bet him, and my bet looks even better. I said they would only win 2 SWAC games. I think they play Valley, and I think they play UAPB. And I told them they would not beat another SWAC team. I'm feeling really good about my bet right now because after what I saw here, and this is what I'm talking about, Coach, when sometimes you got to step out on people. Jackson State played lane. What did Jackson State do? Handle business, look good, allowed a lot of their players to play. That's what you're supposed to do when you play in NAIA school.
Right.
So then what do you have? Alabama A&M, who, as Coach Maynard said, they pay him to win SWAC games. Well, I tell you what, he hasn't done too much of that lately. And I'll tell you this, if I'm looking at this game right here and I'm playing Georgetown College and we only score 24 points and allow them 16 and their quarterback throws for almost 300 yards, I'd be concerned coming up, playing FAMU and Jackson State and others.
Without a doubt, I mean, Alabama A&M, they did have some turnovers now. They had 3 turnovers, 1 interception and 2 fumbles. But like you said, I believe in that too. You got to see where your team is and if we scramble. And that game was 24-16, not 44-16. What? Yeah. One of the things on the ticker, a guy asked me a question. I wanted to try to answer it. If you could pull it, if you see it.
Okay, here we go. I got it. I think I found it, Coach. It says, Coach Cole.
Go ahead.
It says, how would you feel if you were able to move the ball but not get in the end zone or like just miss a field goal? Would you feel better about that type of outing if you're all corn?
Hell no, I would feel very, very bad. I would, I believe in scoring down there. You got those opportunities are few far in between. And that's why in practice, you got, and I always say, and I'll continue to say, I hate the spread offense is an offense. I think it's a part of your offense. You should have it in the toolbox. You got to have a red zone offense. You got to have a short yardage offense. You got to be prepared for all those opportunities. And sometimes I would go to a game, and I remember playing Jackson State in Mobile at Alabama State. And, one of the things I do when I open up a game, I'm going to show you everything I got. However many of the formations I'm going to come in, because I want to see how you're going to line up and play. And it so happened we lined up in no back. And man, guys was running wide open. I just took that playbook, man, put it in my back seat, and we went up and down the field with no back until they made the adjustments. So what am I saying? When I get down there, if you stop me the first time, you're not gonna stop me the second time, because I'm gonna be able to see how you gonna play certain formations and be able to get the ball to the right people. So no, what am I, the analogy? Man, that's like I don't want we on our own show, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's like having a beautiful woman dressed nice and everything, and you get in the bed, man, and it ain't good. So you tell me, and then you had your other baby girl that was about a 7, but so you tell me how you feel about that. Man, you got to get down there. You got to put that ball in the end zone, because as an offense, you don't get that many opportunities. You don't.
You got to put the ball in the end zone. That's the moral of that story. We got a couple people who became members. I think that's and I want to get those people who put a super chat in. If you put a super chat in, we'll address your comment immediately. No waiting. All right. It says, will Ric Flair, Connell Maynard, make it to the, I think that's Magic City Classic. His next 3 games are Austin Peay, Florida A&M, and Jackson State. Again,
let me answer this first. Coach, you could talk from the coach's side. Because listen, I saw this. I was on another show, and we were looking at the schedules. I literally looked up the number for U-Haul in Huntsville, and I found a special for Connell Maynard, because after that Jackson State game, that U-Haul truck will be in front of his doorstep. Because I'm telling you, all 3 of those games are going to be losses. And I tried to tell the Alabama A&M people this. So, yes, will he make it to the Magic City Classic? No. The U-Haul will be driving past and taking him going back to North Carolina. So, Coach, you can talk from a coach standpoint, from a fan standpoint, absolutely not.
Well, they came in the season on shaky grounds. They've had a lot of movement in the program. And when you start moving people in and out your program there, you got to show some results. Because if not, they're going to point the finger at you as the head coach. So he's done that. At one time, they had the best quarterback in the league, and still didn't win it then. So, I got to make some calls. I know some people personally up there that's connected to what's going on. I heard it was some trouble in the house last spring, but he was able to make it through that. He will make it to the Magic City Classic. And that game will determine a lot. Meaning, if he loses the game, he's gone. If he wins the game, he's got to show some improvement. He got an opportunity to stay. I hate to see any coach go through that. But Coach Manning will bounce back on his feet. I hear some other things boiling for him, because he's an East Coast guy. He's a North Carolina guy. So I wish him well.
Hey, now we got another question, Coach. I want to thank my man Swag Fan 100 for making the donation. We certainly appreciate it, man. All these donations go to a very good cause in an effort to bring y'all the best content possible, man. We got lots of major things coming up. We're gonna do something over at the State Fair Classic as well. So we got some great stuff coming. So hey, all these donations are gonna allow us to do that, man, and put together some great content. This question: will any one of you, y'all gonna have to help with because I got
guys. It's this question: how would you, any one of you, handle the situation in Alabama State if you were the coach? All right, Coach Bishop, you go. You speaking from the stands, and I'm gonna speak
here's the thing. From the stands, here's the thing I always say. You can only do what your players allow you to do. So the question is, so now I'm going to my fourth quarterback. Is my fourth quarterback a guy that's a walk-on? Is my fourth guy? And like I said, again, I apologize because I don't even know who this is what's so bad. We usually come up, I don't even know who the fourth guy is for Alabama State. So here's the thing. But here's one thing that does make Alabama State dangerous. They held Sanford only 12 points, Coach. They only held them to 12 points. So once again, Eddie Robinson's defense is there. So what do? You play ball control, you play field position, and you play opportunistic football. So my thing is, once again, it started becoming cliches. Let's run the ball. Let's stay ahead of the chains. Let's not turn the ball over. Let's capitalize when we can score, and let's hold them to 3 and outs. That's how you win games with a type of team like that. So again, that's what I'm doing. And again, Coach, you know what I'm also going to do? And Coach, you can talk about this. I'm challenging my offensive line. You need to win us these games because we're getting ready to hand the running back this football. And I need you to man up front. And we have seen, again, look at Hampton. The offensive line won that football game. Look at Jackson State. The offensive line won them the football game. So you can go to those units and go and say, hey, listen, I need you to win this football game because, hey, we can't, our playbook is not as fast as when we had Andrew Body and O'Brien. So now we're going to have to narrow it down. We're going to have to run the ball and play good defense.
And you sound just like you watched the Madden game, and you're a stand guy. You're right in something and it sounds good and it sounds right that, oh man, I got this great defense. They also are great on special teams as well, Coach. And with this offense, we're just going to pound, go 1, 2, 3. My thought and my deal is now I do have a great defense. I do have great special teams. So now I need to be on the offense more creative with more formations. I need to take shots downfield. I need to be able to use my explosive plays where they're getting us points, meaning field position, transition, turnovers, big run off a kickoff. Now I got to come with what I call Chinese plays, some toss back, double pass, triple reverse, throw back to the quarterback, some draws, some screens. I got to be wide open, but Coach Bishop, like you say, look like I'm just going to run the ball, but I'm not. I'm going to put this kid on bootlegs. I'm going to put this kid on quarterback runs. We're going to run some reverses. We're going to let him throw something down the field because guess what? I'm going to score some points. We're going to score something. We're going to score more than 7. You can't win with 7, not in one double-A football. You got to score between 21 and 24 points in double-A football. That's just how it's always been.
Coach, we got another question for you. Is how can Morgan State's University offense be improved? It's been three years without any noticeable progress.
Let me give you 334-318-1141. Call Coach Cole. No, see, that's the thing, guys. The MEAC football and the East Coast football is a lot different from the SWAC. And that's why the SWAC has been more noticeable than in the SIC been more noticeable than the CIAA in the MEAC. They're more defense, run game oriented, pound, keep the game close. The SWAC has always been more wide open, and sometimes, you got to be able to open up the game. When you got great defense guys, I averaged 3 turnovers a game in the SWAC when I won the championship. And I knew that we couldn't throw the ball. I mean, we would throw interceptions, we would fumble, but I knew we had a great defense. But I knew this: if we didn't push the ball down the field, they would load up on me. They would load the box and say, "Well, he got to run." Well, guess what, guys? We finished number 12 in rushing. So you're right, Coach Campbell. You got to run the ball, but you can't sit there and try to run straight through them. And I think some of that has hurt Norfolk. You know what I mean? You got to get in some pass formations and actually run the football. You know what I mean? So you can't be stale. You know, you got to keep that thing open and always take some shots downfield. Always. Because when teams field the box, what are they playing on the back end, guys?
Man to man.
Man to man.
Man to man. There you go.
Now, Coach, you screamed when we did and I'm going to talk us back to the Celebration Bowl. You said in that game, in the midst of Larry Scott trying to navigate a victory against FAMU, while they were up, you kept saying he's got to back these guys up. He's got to back these guys up. You have to do something to back these guys up, because FAMU eventually is going to move the ball on. So,
and they loaded the box. What was happening was the safety started. Safeties usually line up at 15, 14, 15. When they start getting up at 10, they in the run game, Coach Bishop. You turn your back, and hand that ball off, they up at the line of scrimmage. So guess what you got to do? You got to fake that thing in there and throw it on top. You know what I mean? And if you don't, man, you'll get stale. The fans, you lose momentum. You get predictable. And that's the worst offense ever, is a predictable offense.
All right, Coach. I just wanted to point out these two games. I think Wagner and Delaware State went the way that we went. But then this is a game that I didn't see, but I was actually surprised by the score. Howard and Morehouse had somewhat of a tussle when you look at 35-21, considering Morehouse has been down and Howard went to the Black College National Championship game last year. What do you guys think about, how that game played out?
Go ahead, Coach.
Here's the thing. I think when you have a game like this, and again, this was on CNBC. I watched a little bit of this game. I think Morehouse. This is again. If people know Morehouse people and people know Howard people, and I'm saying this with a lot of respect, those players are really student athletes. They are really student athletes. So I think for them, it's not so much about the football. It's more about the opportunity. I think Morehouse was excited about playing in this game. It was on TV. I think they had more of a motivation. I think Howard definitely believed that they were the better team. And I think they played a little bit like it from what I saw. So when I see games like this, when you look at a Morehouse who has a proud name tradition, as a proud HBCU, I think those players had a lot of pride. I think they wanted to make sure they weren't going to be embarrassed on national TV. And I think they just really played really hard.
Yeah, I think this was the Rocky. I think this was the, how you get, do you got any little brothers? Or you pat him on the head, and he's swinging, and every now and then he get, why I know that? I had 8 brothers, so that used to be, I used to be the little guy swinging. They used to hold my head. It was 35-7 going into the fourth quarter.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't no game out of it. You're talking about 23 first downs, 11. 406 yards to 173. Having the ball 33 minutes. It really, and after seeing Morehouse, man, they struggling. Morehouse is really struggling. They've had three coaches in the last 10 years since they let Coach, not 10 years, the last 5 years, since they let Coach Freeman go. And the program has went straight down. Didn't get a coach till late. So, and like I think Mr. Bishop said, Howard took it easy. They took it easy and probably got everybody to play after they were up. They were going into the fourth quarter up 28-7. So really, it wasn't no game.
All right, and then we got the last two games that I like to look at from last week: Bethune-Cookman and A&T hosting Delaware. What did you guys get out of that? I didn't see anything notable in those victories. I think they went the way we thought they would.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see either one of these two games. I think the A&T game was on Flow Sports. I just saw the stats. Same thing with Bethune, and I found out with Bethune because one of the things I wanted to find out how they scored. I heard they had 2 run backs. So again, that didn't make me feel good. I thought maybe the offense was doing a little bit of something against Western Michigan. I mean, they played out by who they played. You know, I think once again for both of these teams, like I say, Bethune, and that's one of our matchups that we're going to talk about. They played Clark Atlanta. That's a scary game for them. And then A&T, which we'll talk about, they play Central. So again, those are the games I know they're going to be worried about. This went as usual. What I thought was going to happen.
Yeah. Now did Bethune play? Bethune play who that?
Western Michigan.
Oh yeah. It went exactly like it was supposed to. Western Michigan probably went down and got people out the stands to run a couple routes. That's what happened in these games. But Bethune come and got a big one this week. They got Clark Atlanta down in Daytona Beach, Florida. So, and that one's going to be on ESPN Plus. So that's a good game to look at.
Hey, Coach, this was the featured game of the week. This is the one everybody anticipated. And I'll start out by saying this went just like I thought it would. I jumped on Scotty's live very early on, and I said, hey, this should be a mollywop. I didn't see, and leading into the game, I didn't see Southern's offense being able to move the ball on Jackson State. And again, we all thought Southern would have a pretty tough sledding this season. And in their first, this is a conference matchup, but not a conference game. So I just want to point that out. This is a rivalry game between two conference foes, but not a conference game. So I want to point that out. So, Coach Cole, I'll let you address this one first. When you go against your rival and get dominated like this, what does it say about your program as a first-year coach in Coach Terrence Graves?
Well, it wasn't necessarily so much of a domination. I want to cheer for T.C. Taylor. He pulled out the hat a couple great plays. I guess the things that he's seen. One time he ran a tight end delay and the guy kind of walked in the end zone. It was evenly matched, basically. But if you got to pull out the 4 turnovers, Southern University evidently has got a lack of discipline. Because they had 4 turnovers, they had 2 interceptions and turned the ball and had two fumbles. They fumbled the ball, but they didn't lose it. But they had 2 turnovers that was really, really, really costly in this game. When you look at the first down, they were pretty much evenly matched. When you look at the total yards, Southern actually had more total yards than they did, 416 to their 399. But the issue came down to me with a lot of things that what you were doing in the red zone. And I keep telling folks, and I'll repeat myself, the spread is just a package. It's not your whole game. When you get down in that red zone, the field is short. All right. So that means everything is quick and fast. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to run the ball successfully, be able to be great in play action, and be able to, most of all, execute. And those are things that Southern was not doing. It was not executing. They were good at first downs, 5 for 12. That's right about 38%, right, Rob? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jackson State was where they supposed to been at. You know what I mean? Jackson State made the plays in this game. I'm not ready to throw Southern out with the baby in the bathwater, but they got to be able to get it together. They've only averaging about 23 points a game. But if you pull the Savannah State game out, I mean, they down to 2 or 3 touchdowns a game. 2 touchdowns a game. And again, you cannot win one AA football scoring, not being able to score the football. So they definitely got to get better. Jackson State had their wheel. They ran the ball successfully and passed it. So Southern has to get better. and especially better on the offensive side of the ball.
Go ahead, Bishop.
Well, I'm going to disagree with Coach a little bit. And I'm going to say this. This is where clearly the stats lie. To me, Jackson State dominated this game from the very beginning all the way to the end. I think what we saw here is a good Jackson State team that is growing, that showed a lot of confidence. What I want to say is, again, I want to talk about Jackson State, which was interesting. Cameron McCoy started this game. And this is what I want to tell people. When we all get on these channels, and I talked to Coach about this, Coach T.C. Taylor sees these players every day. So there was something that he saw that said he felt that McCoy needed to start. But once again, Jackson State clearly has two quarterbacks because McCoy got hurt. Jacoby Morgan came in, went 12 for 21 for 153 yards and ran for a TD. Herb Mulligan makes his return, goes 13 carries, 51 yards, runs for a TD. They run for over 200 yards rushing. Southern, on the other hand, Noah Biden, T-Set, their freshman that they were looking forward to, came in, got hurt, only threw 10 passes. Noah Biden came in, threw for 352 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But this is a game to me that was a lie. And I'm going to tell you what, you want to know what Southern is, you can look at their fan base. And I told everybody that this was not a good team at the very beginning, and I still stand on that. This is not a good team. I don't believe that they have the talent. I believe they're still trying to figure out what they want to do as an identity on the offense, because this is the first Southern team in a very long time that you have seen that did not run for at least 50 yards. I can't remember the time like that. Southern was known for big offensive linemen and running the ball. That goes all the way back to the 70s. So for them to be totally dominated by a defensive line, that I got to give Jackson State credit. And this kid, Noble, he made a name for himself this week. And I'm going to start tracking this kid to see what he's all about. But I'm just telling you, from what I just saw, to me, I just saw a total domination. And I just got to say something to somebody from Jackson. People from Jackson, and I guess that are not Gen X and millennials, we do not call Southern Jackson State the Boombox Classic. I don't know what that is. That ain't what that is. For us old heads, it's Southern versus Jackson State. It ain't no Boombox Classic. I think that's something a millennial made up, because when I hear that, it makes me cringe, because it talks about more about the band than the proud football traditions. Because you got to understand something. These are the two schools along with Graham that have the most football championships. So this game has always been about the football. I know we like the jukebox, and I know we like the boom and the dancing dolls, but this really is a rivalry that has been built on the field, and all the auxiliary comes along with it. So I just want to say one thing about that as a Jacksonian, because every time I see that, it just tickles me when I see that. But one of the things, again, what I really like is that Jackson State was able to play players. They got their running game going. And I'm telling you something, and we're going to talk about this. This matchup against Grambling is that old school SWAC football game that we all want to see. But I'm just telling you, I was really impressed, and that's why I had Jackson State and FAMU 1 and 1A, and nothing changes that.
Well, I want to piggyback, and I don't have no rich history tradition of paying attention to HBCU football. But when you got a game named after the band, that tells you what y'all think about football.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That the game is not named. That's why I just cleared that up. The game is not named after the band. That's what I'm saying. The band people did that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The people, that is something that, again, that game is not. Yeah, that's not official. That is not what that game is called.
That's social media, Coach.
Yeah. So I want to be clear on that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Because to me, as a true football fan, as a true HBCU football fan, that's an abomination. That is ridiculous. You don't even, matter of fact, when you talk about a game of this magnitude and then name it after the bands, this is the schools of I think Mel Blunt and
Aeneas Williams,
Walter Payton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You shouldn't even be interjecting the band into this storied rivalry. They got their fifth quarter. They got the battle of the bands. This game should be about the football, period.
Well, I tell you what, let me say this. For Jackson State, it definitely on the field was about football. And clearly this team is ready to make a run for the SWAC championship.
All right. I just wanted to say that. Hey, now I want to disagree with Coach as well, Coach. Coach, if you watch this game, there was nothing that Southern was able to do in the first half of this game. Nothing. They were not able to do nothing. Now, T.C. Taylor in the second half, I think he went to a more conservative game plan. And to be perfectly honest with you, Jacoby Morgan missed probably 21 points. 21 points this game. He just didn't connect on some passes that were clearly there. But I didn't. Now Southern did get some empty calories, I would say, at the end of the game. They were able to pass the ball and make some, and the receivers made some outstanding catches, so on and so forth. But I didn't see anything in this game that let you know that Southern was competitive that night, and I didn't see anything moving forward that lets you know they're going to be competitive in their future matchups, Coach. I'll ask you this, Coach, while you're over there evaluating the stats. How many yards did Southern run for?
29.
29. That's what I said, less than 50 yards. Yeah. That is unheard of from a Southern football team.
Right.
No. 29, Coach? 29?
They thought they threw the ball well. I would agree with you guys.
Did they throw the ball well, or that's all they had a chance to do?
I'm just not ready to throw Southern and Coach Graves to the wall yet. I think, you got to give him a chance.
What you need to know. Today, we made it. It's Friday, September 20th, 2024. Number 1. The Wall Street Journal recently exposed false rumors about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were promoted by the Trump campaign. Despite being informed by city officials that claims of migrants eating pets were baseless, Senator J.D. Vance and former President Donald Trump continued to spread the lies. The newspaper also revealed that a missing cat used as an example in the rumors was later found in its owner's basement, but the damage had already been done. Number 2. Tupperware, the iconic kitchenware brand known for its airtight containers, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Shifting consumer preferences, environmental concerns over plastic, and competition from cheaper alternatives have contributed to its decline. Despite efforts to modernize and restructure, the company's future remains uncertain as it faces pressure from lenders for liquidation. Number 3, a new study published in the American Journal of Psychiatry found that high doses of ADHD drugs are linked to a more than 5-fold increase in the risk of developing psychosis or mania. The research highlights the relationship between escalating doses of amphetamines like Adderall or Vyvanse and a higher likelihood of psychotic symptoms. Amphetamines increase dopamine levels, which are involved in mood and memory, but also linked to psychosis. Number 4, according to Newsweek magazine, only Rhode Island, of the 35 states requiring IDs to vote, has specific guidance for poll workers on transgender voters. Concerns are growing that transgender individuals may face disenfranchisement due to name or appearance changes not matching their IDs. A report by the Williams Institute estimates that over 210,000 voting-eligible transgender adults could be affected by strict voter ID laws in the upcoming election. Number 5, a Black-owned business in Atlanta, the Sister Shop, ATL, was saved from closing after a community-driven flash mob rallied to support it. The shop owner, Aisha Taylor Issa, turned to social media for help, attracting the attention of entrepreneur Nehemiah Davis and influencer David Shands. Their efforts mobilized the community, resulting in $14,000 in sales in one day, the shop's best day in business. Way to go. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Life is a series of choices. Let's choose to embrace failure as an opportunity to work on personal development. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed.
My name is Danny Wilson, and I won $500 on the lunch break with AJ Jones.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.